What's going on, everybody? It's Ricky with Video Homicide, back with day 16 of the 31 Days of Horror. I just got finished watching a movie that I've never seen before. I'd seen the original, which came out I'd seen the remake, which came out in 2007, and that movie is Funny Games, written and directed by Michael Hanke. So this is an Austrian filmmaker, Austrian film, and to give a little bit of backstory on how I found out about this movie, I had a buddy named Ian. And we went to film school together, and I remember there was nights where we would just go to these editing rooms, and we would put a movie on the projector and just fucking edit and have a movie playing in the background kind of thing. So he put on Funny Games, or he had been talking about it for like a while. He was like, have you seen Funny Games? You got to watch Funny Games. And I was like, it sounds kind of shitty, not interested, blah, blah, blah. And then one night we were watching something. He's like, hey, I'm going to throw on Funny Games. So I said, fuck's sakes, go ahead. And he throws it on, and I was like, this movie's awesome. It's so good. And he's like, there's an original film that's like in a different language, but it's like a shot-for-shot remake, much like, I believe it was Gus Van Sant who did Psycho, the remake of Psycho, which is like, fuck that movie. I know some people don't mind it. I think it's a useless piece of shit. I like Vince Vaughn and Dodgeball, and that's about it. Oh, and what the fuck was that movie called where they run the call? Old School. That's about as far as I go with Vince Vaughn. But the other night, it was actually technically 2 nights ago when I watched the film, Funny Games from 1997. Now, this movie is another one much like Kidnapped, where it's not like, the type of movie you watch with fucking grandma and grandpa, or aunt and uncle and little nephew Bobby. This is the type of movie that is exclusively for sadistic people. Even though there's not that much, like, sadism or like anything too crazy shown, it's all implied, and it's all in the delivery and stuff like that. So basically, we have this family of 3, mother, father, and son. They're going to their cottage way out in cottage country. Like, they're total, like, what I would consider rich cunt types. And they get to their cottage, and on the way into like their little, area where they have their cottage, there's this other family, and they're kind of acting strange, and there's these 2 guys with them, 2 younger men. And they kind of think nothing of it, and then they get in, they're kind of getting settled down, and father and son, they're out working on the boat. Mom is in the kitchen. They get a knock on the door, and it's this one of those kids, one of those young men, and he's knocking on the door, and he's like, hey, the lady next door, she sent me over because she needs a couple of eggs. So the woman's like, sure, no problem, gives him 4 eggs. He walks out the door, drops them. Or he goes to walk out the door, and he drops them. And he's like, oh, fuck, sorry, I'm clumsy, that kind of thing. And she's like, oh, she's kind of irked, but it's kind of like, it happens. And then all of a sudden, he asks for 4 more eggs, and she's kind of like reluctant to do that. And so she does. And as she's doing it, the man like knocks her cell phone into the sink. So now her cell phone is fucked. And he's wearing gloves also. I got to point that out. That's very strange. Well, it's smart because, fingerprints, but they're wearing these white gloves. They almost look like kids that are like on their way to a boating, like a yacht club or something like that. They look like rich white fucking dudes that are on their way to go and sail the fucking 7 seas, but not like, like with like an old Team Greasy hat up there. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but I'll show you real quick. This is like, when I think of a sailor, like that kind of hat. You know what I mean? Like an old-timey sailor hat. But, so we asked for 4 more eggs, and she's kind of like, Jesus Christ, just take them and get the fuck out of here. And another one of the kids shows up, and he sees that the father has like these really badass golf clubs, and he's like, oh, I've never seen one of those before. Can I give it a try? So she says, yeah, fuck it, I guess, no problem. So he goes outside, grabs a golf ball, goes outside, and he comes back in. He's like, wow, that was really good. And while he's out there practicing with his golf club, you see father and son on the boat. They hear the dog going ballistic. So, and then all of a sudden, the dog just stops barking. And we come to find out that this kid had beat the dog to death with the golf club, which is fucking crazy. And like the way it's played out, because the woman's like, she goes outside. She's like, where's the dog? Because the guy's like, one of the young guys still has the golf ball, and he's like, I have the golf ball here. So what did I practice on? And she's like, what the fuck? Where's the dog? And then goes outside, and then there's like a classic game of that, like hot or warm or hot or cold thing. Like, so if you're looking for something, hot, warm, cold kind of thing, and it leads her to the family vehicle where the dog is dead in there. And then the father shows up with the son. They come up to see what's going on, and then the father gets beat on the leg with one of the golf clubs, and it just turns into this whole thing where it's like, all right, now you guys are under our jurisdiction, even though these two kids, like, they play it off so like they're being polite in the most like passive aggressive shitty way possible, because they're like, well, I had to do it because you got unfair with us or something like that. I had to break your fucking leg, Jimmy, like you were being a prick. And now they're like they're making these weird bets, like the two young men, they're saying to the family, we bet that you won't be alive by 9 o'clock tomorrow. And throughout the film, like people are getting killed. Like, one of the most strongest parts about this film, or like craziest parts in my opinion, is the scene where the young son escapes from the house, makes his way to another house, finds a shotgun, and then sees that the family there have been murdered as well, and he's pointing the shotgun at the guy that comes in looking for him, and pulls the trigger. It's empty. He pisses his pants, the whole 9 yards, and they get the kid back to the house, and they basically execute the kid. They shoot the kid in the fucking head, but the way they do it is so crazy, because like the sort of main bad guy is in, like, he walks into the kitchen and he makes a sandwich, and then the shotgun goes off, and instead of like going to see what happens, he continues making the sandwich or like the piece of food, whatever it was, and then he like walks out there, and then you see the kid's dead corpse, and he looks at his buddy, and they're like, we got to get the fuck out of here. And he leaves like the mom and the dad in there with the dead son, and it's fucking brutal, because the way it's played out is so what I consider like realistic in a way, and it's crazy. It's also important to point out that this film is compiled of, I believe, 12 shots. So you have 12 continuous shots put together to make this like hour-and-a-half film. I think that's crazy. Like, that beats Scorsese's record, like, for sure. Really well done movie. I think it's probably one of the best sort of home invasion flicks, although I do think that movie I talked about the other day, Kidnapped, is more hardcore. I think this movie is more entertaining and a little more, not Disney, but like it's a little more easier to consume, because you're not seeing people get raped. You are seeing an uncomfortable scene where they make the mom get undressed, but that's a fucking far cry away from like literally watching a woman being raped, not to laugh at that, but it's a type of movie that I think is pretty good. I think it would go good as a double feature with Kidnapped, which is a crazy fucking movie, and I just think it goes good together. And I will admit that I think home invasion films are like one of the subgenres of horror that isn't given enough love in terms of, give me a lot of movies about the subject, because I think it's so hardcore and so realistic that it's very super scary, and it's easy to fuck up. There are good ones like Strangers. I liked Strangers 2 as well. It took place in like a trailer park. These ones, of course. See, that's the thing. Like, I'm drawing a blank right now. I don't know many good ones. Clockwork Orange. Could you consider that a home invasion film? There's home invasion in it. I don't know. But with that being said, I appreciate everybody for watching. Leave a 666 in the comments. Go ahead and watch Funny Games if you've not seen it, because you will not be disappointed. All right, watch the original version. Watch the remake. They're both just as good. I would say, more than not, like, I would always say watch the original, so do that. 666, adios.